the J's look like I's. In other words, you have to really get accustomed to the writing, or I guess Esau would call it the fonts. You really have to get accustomed to it. But it is still in the Holy Bible, King James Version. It opens up with Genesis and closes with Revelation, just like the rest of the Bible. So what we're going to do concerning the word world, this is going to put the nail in the coffin to lock up all those lies that Christ died for everybody, and that for God so loved the world means that he loved everybody. Now, we're going to go to 2nd Esdras, the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verses 7 through 9, and we're going to show you what it's talking about. What did the scriptures say? And as a matter of fact, you're going to see why they removed certain of these books from the Bible, so as to hide information in scriptures that will be so much more direct than other scriptures that come in either parable form, metaphorically written, or they need a line of scriptures to be able to decipher or to unencrypt. Go ahead, brother.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the part and asunder of the times?
Now hold on. We're going to do something. We're going to hook something together up, all right? He's going to read this, and while he's reading this, I'm going to be interjecting with Matthew chapter 24, verses 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to show you. Matter of fact, I'm going to stay where you are. I'm going to go ahead and read a verse first, all right? Yeah. And then when I tell you, I want you to jump on in so that they can see what this is really talking about, all right? So I'm going to Matthew chapter 24, and I'm going to read verse 1. It says, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple. He's in the midst of Jerusalem. And his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see now all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now watch what the apostles say. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming? In other words, what are we going to know to look forward to know that you're coming back, Christ? And of the end of the world, singular. Now, we're going to find out. I'm going to read this again. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? They want to know what to look for when we would know the world was ending. But now, this version, or this scripture, is going to show you specifically what world that it was that was going to be coming to an end. Now, read it again. 2nd Esdras chapter 6, and starting in verse 7. Go ahead, brother.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times?
What shall be the parting asunder of the time? This is the prophet Esdras, or in the Bible is referred to as Ezra, the one that's written just before Nehemiah. He says, when shall be the parting asunder of time? In other words, when are one time going to end and another begin? That's what the parting asunder means, a dividing. Read it again from the top.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first?
When shall be the end of the first? Sure, hold on. Now this also, the end of the first, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
And the beginning of it that followeth.
When shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? That goes along with Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3, and Hebrews chapter 1, verse 2, where it speaks of worlds, plural. This is showing you there is one that's in process right now that there is an expectation of it ending. That's what the apostles just said. When shall be the end of the world? And then this one came back and said, when shall the... Read it again from the top, brother.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth?
Go ahead.
And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him.
He's answering the question by taking us back to our history. Abraham fathered Isaac. Isaac fathered two sons, Jacob and Esau. So it says when Abraham had Isaac, read it again.
From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. Go ahead.
Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
It tells you the first came out red and hairy, and the second child came out holding the heel of the first. Esau, we've already gone over this topic with you. You know it is the father of the people that are referred to as white people in the earth. Okay, so-called Caucasians. So it said Esau, read it again.
Verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world.
For Esau is the end of the world. Go ahead.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And Jacob is the beginning of it, meaning the other world that followeth. So hold on. When the apostles asked, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? They knew, they were asking, when are you coming back to take down the Roman world? Because the scriptures tell you, we just read it. Esau is the end of the world. That's the one that Christ said that you're not supposed to have, that is written in the book of 1 John chapter 2, that love not the world. That's the one where Christ said, I pray not for the world. That's the one that Pontius said, hey, you know, you're a Jew. Christ said, my kingdom is not of this world. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob the beginning of it that followed. Now we're going to do this one more time. We're going to read 2 Ezra chapter 6, verses 7 through 9, slowly, very clear and loud, and fluently. Go ahead.
Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth?
Go ahead.
And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
It's taking you back to Genesis chapter 25 at the birth of the twins. But he's telling you that moment was symbolic for something that was meant to happen thousands of years in the future. Jacob's hand held fast the heel of Esau. Go ahead.
Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
Esau is the end of the world. Go ahead.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Go ahead.
Verse 10. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand.
In other words, he's saying the change of the time is that close. It's just as close as the heel that was between Jacob's fingers. The heel of Esau that was between Jacob's hand. Alright? That's what he's telling you. So now we know what world Christ loved. What world he said that if you were aligned or a friend with, you would be considered God's enemy. So, what we got to do now? Let me say, listen, it's crystal clear. The Most High is going to take down the Edomite world, the so-called white man's world, and he's going to establish his own people. That's what's going to take place. Now, we're going to go back to St. John chapter 3, verse 16, and we're going to pick up the second half of that verse when it speaks of whosoever. Okay? St. John chapter 3 and verse 16. Because people get hung up on the world and whosoever. Okay? If they could understand simply that the Bible is a book in its entirety addressed to one group of people, then they would understand that when it says whosoever, it's obviously talking about whosoever out of this group of people. It's like if I write you a letter, and it goes, and it is addressed to the Dominique family. So you got Otis, you got Omar, your brother, you have your mother, Mrs., and you got your father, Mr. Dominique. Now I write you a letter explaining all types of things that you could have at your disposal under certain conditions you got to fulfill. And then all of a sudden you got some neighbors that's called the Joneses. The Jones family, and the mailman takes this message that I'm sending to you and deliver it to them. And they see it's addressed to the Dominiques. But they start getting all happy about all the things they read as if it is addressed to them. That's what the Bible is. It is a book that is addressed to one nation of people that have it has recorded prophecies that some of them, many of them have been fulfilled, and others are yet to have to fulfill themselves, to be fulfilled, about this one group of people. But because the Bible have